Hi class, as promised we will be jumping into the schedule of classes. So thus far we've covered the catalog and you've been reading through the important parts of the catalog, and today we'll be discussing the schedule of classes. I'll talk about a little bit the print schedule, the printed schedule that comes out, as well as the web schedule option. The thing that you should note is that schedules, they're produced by all of the colleges in the district. So CSM, Kenyatta, and Skyline, we all have our own printed schedule. And here you can see the spring version of CSM's printed schedule. Now, web schedule, which we'll be discussing later, it certainly gives you the opportunity to see what each individual college has, but also you can filter it out to see what all three colleges have to offer. Some things to note about the schedule of classes. It is a little bit more up to date than the catalog, simply because it's produced 3 times a year versus the catalog only being produced once a year with one addendum. And that addendum are corrections or updates that need to be made, to put it in simpler terms. So in the class schedule, sometimes you'll see in the printed version there will be features and stories and updates on the college, but primarily it offers the course listings for that semester, the instructor who's teaching it, the room number, the number of units that the course is, the days of the week it meets, the times that it meets, the degree or transferability as well. So again, with the class schedule, there is the printed version and the web schedule, and I'll be kind of showing you a little bit more detail on web schedule because it is more up to date. A lot of people call the schedule the catalog. Can I have a catalog, or is there a catalog where I can look up classes? And actually, again, the catalog is more like the handbook here, as you learned with your reading. And the class schedule is where we have the listing of course offerings, okay? So there is a difference. Note that printed schedules, like anything printed, can go out of date pretty quickly. So for example, you might have a class that gets canceled. And though it shows in the printed schedule, it might not actually be offered. Or you may have a situation where the instructor changes or the room changes or all of the above. That might not be reflected in the printed schedule. There may also be a class that's added late that's not in the actual printed schedule either. So remember that web schedule is the most up-to-date, though I want to talk a little bit about web schedule once classes start, which can make it kind of difficult to navigate. So I wanted to troubleshoot you through that as well, so you can understand that in this orientation to college portion of the class. The other thing you should note is that there are archived copies of past schedules that go back several years. So why might you want to know about past schedules? Well, you might want to see what the history of offerings are per semester, right? So that it can help you kind of plan out your schedule, like, okay, this class is only offered in the fall historically, or what did they offer in the summer last year? That can give me an idea of whether or not I should take summer school, or is the class I need offered in the summer, so maybe I will take summer school. So you can definitely look at archives and the history of what's been offered in the past, or if you want to kind of look back at what you've taken in past years, you can go back to those older schedules in the archives, and we'll go through that too. Some other things to note, again, there is a difference between the schedule and the catalog. Again, in my opinion, the schedule is a little bit more up to date because, again, of web schedule and because it's produced at each semester, right? Whereas, again, the catalog is only produced once a year with an addendum. Web schedule is much more accurate than the printed schedule. Again, once you print something, it kind of automatically goes out of date. Web schedule can be really useful to finding open classes prior to classes starting, right? And that's not just for the start of the semester, because you can still see open classes for late start courses, but once a class has begun, it can get kind of confusing to see, is it still open or not? So we want to navigate you through how to use all the tools in web schedule. And then lastly, we're going to also talk about navigating open classes once school starts, because that can be really challenging. So you may have planned for things and maybe a class gets canceled, or your work schedule changes, or you have obligations at home or with your family and you have to adjust or change class times, and you're scrambling to find a class. How do you do that? We'll go over that in the next video as we go through web schedule. Okay, so that's just kind of a little primer on the schedule of classes, and we'll go more into detail on web schedule.